You're listening to the Multiverse Fancast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
All right, then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fancast. If you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and basically anywhere you get your podcasts. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me in the studio today is Ronnie. Ronnie, how are you today?
I am doing amazing.
Doing amazing.
Yes, I am.
Any particular reason for amazing?
Because of this episode that we're talking about.
Okay, all right. Bury the lead a little. Yeah, play hard to get, little buddy. And then we also have Rob. Rob, how are you today?
I am doing
It's going to be a bitch to edit.
very well.
I'm going to, when I edit, all those spaces are going to get taken out. I can't control it. It just happens. But I stopped listening halfway through.
I'm imitating Batman's, well, I should say the entire movie's speech pattern.
This is why you got to warn me about your bits before you just do them. I don't know what's going on. But in case you guys are wondering what we're going to be talking about today, we just saw The Batman.
The Batman.
The film and the character, I guess, really. 'Cause,
Yeah.
we just saw him and we saw the film. But we saw it last night and gave it a little bit of time to marinate, to collect our thoughts, because there are plenty of times where we see a movie and then record right after and we get the most raw information. Mm-hmm. And it's not always reflective of how we truly feel about the movie. So we are going to be breaking down now, just so you guys know, the movie did just come out. Like, today is Saturday, March 5th, and this episode will be out on Monday. So we are going to do about 10-15 minutes of complete non-spoilers, nothing that spoils the plot. We're going to discuss kind of the development of the movie first, how it started, where it came from, and talk just initial thoughts about the plot and the characters and the casting, especially because that was the biggest thing, and give you guys a quick break, maybe 10-15 minutes in, like I said, and then come back with a full spoiler discussion.
Nice.
All right?
Yep.
And I don't think we have any news today because really this...
It's Bat Month, because we've been building up to this moment.
And also it is March. Movie news,
Yes.
comic book movie news especially, is kind of dry right now.
In between.
Either things are about to come out, like we have Moon Knight coming out this month, which we're excited for.
Yes.
We
Yep.
have our episode about Peacemaker that's coming out next week, I believe.
Yes.
And we're going from there. We also have Academy Award season, and now
All right.
we have some Oscar-worthy type things to discuss.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we're going from there.
March is Oscar month. Yes, it
March is a fun time. But before we get into the discussion, don't forget, guys, if you are looking to start your own podcast or create your own content and you don't know where to start, you can always try our affiliate program for Podbean. It's podbean.com/misfitfaction. If you guys use that link, you get a free month of podcasting. It's a special thank you from us to all of you guys. Or if you have your own online service or product or company that you want to promote, podcasts are everywhere, guys. There are literally millions and millions of them. So if you guys are looking to do a little bit of advertising on any of those podcasts, not just ours, you can do, let's see, I think it's sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction, and you get $100 of free advertising. Again, that's a thank you from us for all of our loyal listeners. So that is the warm-up. Now it's time to start the game, sports. Did you like that, Ronnie? No, nothing?
Where are we
Okay.
going with this?
I don't know. So,
Oh, man.
let's start off with some initial thoughts about...
well, first we have the news about the box office.
Oh, fine. Literally said we had no news. And everybody's like, yeah, huh?
But it's
all right.
Batman news.
All right,
that's
so
why
let's
it's
start off
legit.
with the box office
Okay.
for this movie.
So the box office now,
Got you a dollar.
technically, it opened sort of on Tuesday. It was like, as Paul mentioned to me earlier, it was an investors kind of opening for like very select people and very select theaters. It did play on Wednesday, and it officially previewed Thursday night at 7. But the studio is rolling all that box office together. So just based on those 3 days, it pulled in $21.6 million. Friday, when we all went, it pulled in $35.4 million. And right now, they are estimating that it's going to pull in over $125 million, which is about a month out. They were expecting it to pull somewhere. They were saying between $130 and $150 million, and they weren't really sure just based on the world, based on, some of this is hard to predict because they don't know, like, social media reaction. They usually kind of look at that too. Advertising, momentum that it gets. Also, being a 3-hour runtime is a little bit difficult because that means it's a limited number of times it can be shown on a specific screen. Now, where we went, it was showing literally every half hour. That had to be about, if it's every half hour, that had to be about 7 screens it was going.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was a 16-screen theater, and I would say easily, probably about half of them were the Batman. So right now, it is looking to pull in over $125 million. Now, that is way shy of Marvel's Spider-Man latest release, but no one really expected it to come near that because it isn't. The Batman isn't exactly, although Batman is very, very popular, the Batman isn't exactly like a feel-good crowd pleaser the way that the Spider-Man movie is, where you've got multiple Spider-Man.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I felt really good.
I felt good, but not in a clean way. When I was walking out, I definitely needed a shower, but I think to do that, you just have to stand in the streets of Gotham for 3 minutes because it never stops raining.
It did rain a lot in Gotham, yeah.
It was Seattle.
We were also talking about this in that it'll be most interesting, and Ronnie stated this, about the kind of drop-off that it gets in second weekend. That is usually the indication of a film's success. If it can have a drop-off that is below 60%, like if it's 60% or less, then it's usually considered success. And because usually films have I think it's like a 2.3 or 2.4 multiplier from its first weekend. So if it does drop off that anything more than 60% is not a good sign. That means it's not doing well, with the audiences. But also, like, one of the things they weren't sure about was another factor, which turned out in its favor, was the Rotten Tomatoes score. There was the critic embargo was up noon on this past Monday, and when it was lifted, it immediately shot right up. And I think right now it's sitting at 87%.
Yeah, it's sitting at 85 for the critics and 91 with audience.
Wow, that's very high for audience.
They're very equal. While usually I feel like with comic book movies,
it
tends to be like polar opposite almost.
Mm-hmm. So my point with bringing up all this information is that all signs are pointing to a good box office run.
Yes.
The fact that there is also nothing major. What's the next thing major opening? I think Morbius on April 1st.
That doesn't count.
So
That
nothing
doesn't count.
until Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So there's a lot of room for this to do well, and we wish it well just based on the time that we had with it last night, which we'll get into.
It's a DC movie when Rob says we wish it well. If it was a Marvel movie, I wouldn't even have to say that.
I know, seriously. So
no, instead we get Moon Knight this month. Marvel's Batman.
Yeah, I know, seriously.
What a month of vicious vigilantes.
I know,
right?
holy cow. Nothing like damaged, costumed superhero rich men.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, they all are.
Yeah.
Imagine being a broke superhero. Look at Spider-Man just sewing while Batman's like, my suit's bulletproof.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's looking on track to do well. It's most likely, they're already talking about sequels and spin-offs and all these things. The Penguin's getting an HBO Max spin-off, which we'll talk about when there's more to talk about.
Yeah, right now we just know what we know from the Batman. So.
Yeah. And they're saying that they have 2 sequels in mind, which is interesting because this movie was supposed to come out, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, last year, I think, in June of last year. So with delays. Also, I think that it's very helpful that every single mandate in the state of New York got lifted.
Yes.
Right before this movie came out, literally the week before.
There was in our theater, no alternate seating. There was very few people with masks. Yeah. Because it's not required in New York State anymore. So
I think that's going to work in its favor because Spider-Man proved that people are still willing to go to the movies, especially when there's no alternative. Like this movie's not going to be on HBO Max for a few weeks at least.
Yeah.
That's even longer.
Depending on how well it does. Like normally they've been doing a 45-day window for HBO Max stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if they held this off even longer.
Well, it'd be that's why they pushed back Morbius, not because it's terrible, but because
I mean it might be, but that's not why they pushed it.
Well, they pushed Morbius because Spider-Man No Way Home is still making money in theaters. It's still like there were still showings when we went to the theater. Yeah. We walked by a few of them. But so, that's why they pushed that back. I feel like with HBO Max especially, because they're still making their money, they want to create a window where they maximize their profits at the box office, and then they get a bunch of new subscribers because that's how they can articulate. Also, nowadays it's much easier for people to say this movie's really good, and it's doing well on both, this and this, because it's not so much DVD sales anymore afterwards. It's, how many new subscribers jump onto HBO Max when when it gets released.
Physical media really just isn't. I still collect a lot of physical media, but it's just not that much.
Well, I'm going to get Spider-Man when it comes out on a DVD. I'm going to get this when I think when it comes out on DVD, because this is a movie. It is long. It is a 3-hour movie. The pacing's, again, we're going to talk about it, but is relatively good. But let's start with initial thoughts about the Batman. And we'll start with, because Ronnie's so excited. And he's just got this energy. He's just sitting here patiently waiting. Finish the box office stuff. Come on.
I should say this before Ronnie even starts. Now he's like, oh, come on.
It's supposed to be my turn.
We have not talked very much about this. Even though we saw this last night, we walked out of the theater and we had a couple comments to one another. But we usually keep everything pretty close to the chest until we sit down here and podcast.
Much like Batman's Batarang.
Yes.
And then you pop it out when you need it.
So sorry,
Is that a
Ronnie.
spoiler?
Nope.
Okay.
Go for it.
Holy cannoli, Batman.
I like this movie.
How long have you been sitting on that one?
A while. I was blown away. I thought this was going to be an average movie because that's all we've been getting from DC for a while.
Yeah. He's not wrong.
I will argue that.
I said average.
I will argue that.
Because we've had some good, we've had some bad, we've had some in the middle. So, but this was by far probably the best DC movie we've had in years. I mean, from point A to point B, everything just hit. The casting was amazing in this. I did like the style that it was shot in. Yeah, it could. The dialogue, we talked about it. It does, it has the William Shatner effect to it a little bit at times, but it wasn't like you were watching it and you were getting bored from it because there was stuff happening. It wasn't just all the dialogue just like that. But it was a cool little crime thriller. It wasn't even really like a Batman movie, I feel like. I feel like I was watching a movie about the Zodiac killer. Yeah. Really, and we finally got a detective Batman in this, which was amazing.
Rob?
I was really pleasantly surprised. One of my kids asked me, what I was thinking about going into this, and I'm like, I think it'll be, good to slightly better than good. And it was, I gotta echo Ronnie's sentiment. I was really blown away and really just super impressed. I don't want to put it up there with The Dark Knight just yet, but I will say that it could possibly hit that same level because I think it actually excels in some things where The Dark Knight falls short. With The Dark Knight, it's very it's great, but it's mostly great because of Heath Ledger.
Yes.
Whereas this one, I felt like everything was very balanced out. This felt like an ensemble. I thought it was a great plot. I loved the way it was shot. I loved that Gotham was finally a character in this for me. Gotham felt like the main character for me, and it was exciting. It was slow, but not in a bad way. In fact, I was sitting there and I'm like, wow, I've been here for what has this been like? The movie must be ending soon. And I looked at my watch at my phone and we'd only been there for an hour. and that wasn't oh my God, there's still 2 hours left. It was hey, all right, there's still 2 more hours of this.
Yeah.
It was exciting that I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. And I really couldn't predict what was happening next. I got some really cool vibes from this that wasn't Batman-esque and definitely wasn't DC-ish. This is a movie I think that can stand on its own as a really good movie. And I have to say, I'll be really interested Oscar time when it comes around to see what kind of things this will be up for. Because I think it was...
I will immediately say something along the lines of cinematography.
Yes, easily.
And the score.
The score. I don't know how to say his name, but I admire him. Michael Giacchino. His scores are always just astounding.
The music was a character itself too.
Easily.
There were a lot of musical tones,
a lot of good musical cues. So that's my feeling.
So I was nervous going into this because I hate setting the bar high. We talked about it a little bit, and I know we keep talking about Spider-Man, but it is the most recent big movie that we saw. And, I said the same thing. I don't want to set the bar so high that when it doesn't hit it, I don't enjoy the movie. Even if it's a good movie, it still didn't hit my expectations. So I kept them pretty low. I was expecting maybe a 3.5.
Wow.
And I will, without bearing the lead, it is a little bit higher than that. But for me, this movie struck a really great balance in some regards, and then not so good in others. And I like, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed this movie. This movie was fantastic, and I think arguably it will go down as one of the best DC movies. And, you know, it's its own standalone thing. Could this Batman exist in the world of the Justice League? I think so.
Yeah, really? I was wondering that.
Intellectually wise, yes.
Okay.
Like, I could see this Batman doing, you know, tactical stuff, solving mysteries with the Justice League, like stuff like that. We'll talk about why it wouldn't work, though, because I don't think it would. I could see it happening, but I don't think it necessarily needs to. I would love to see this Batman interact with a Superman. I think that would be a really interesting movie for the two of them to solve some sort of mystery together. This movie, though, for me, as a standalone Batman film, has something it takes place over the course of a week. Like, it's a young Batman, and this isn't spoiler stuff. This is all stuff that's been said. 2 years in, he's making mistakes, and we'll talk about some of our favorite Bat mistakes in this movie. But for me, there were some things. Batman was well done. I didn't like Bruce Wayne. I really I found myself
like emo Bruce Wayne.
Emo Bruce Wayne. That was my biggest fear going into this movie, because you see it in the trailers. You see him, like, he's got the long hair and he's just kind of like antisocial and stuff like that.
You see fault. I see opportunity. DC Marvel crossover with emo Spider-Man.
Emo Spider-Man was at least fun. Like, emo Bruce Wayne was like painful to watch at some points, like just so painful. But Batman and Commissioner Gordon, or Sergeant,
Lieutenant.
Detective.
Is that what he is?
Yeah.
Super Gordon. They had one of the. I'm not going to bury the lead. They have one of the best
Lieutenant. Yeah.
Best relationships between the two characters that we've ever seen.
Yes,
I think
agreed.
Even better. I'll say it, better than Christian Bale and Gary Oldman's.
Easily.
Oh yeah.
So, and the Riddler was terrifying in this movie. Like, actually scary at points.
The first time we see him, like, in the shadows, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Well, the opening.
We had to hold Ronnie's hand.
Yeah. the opening scene, and again, without any spoilers, the opening scene is like almost like a serial killer movie.
And we should also, having said that, say that this film pushes the limits of PG-13.
Yes.
Yeah. Very much so.
There are things they can't show.
It is disturbing. First of all, they do drop 2 F-bombs.
I only heard the one.
I got 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
I was counting them as we were going, because I was surprised we got 2. That was pretty impressive. And you are allowed, that's the rule in films, you are allowed 2 to 3 F-bombs as long as there's not a sexual connotation to them.
correct. Like a movie like The Social Network, Rent even had to fight it because in one of their songs they dropped the F-bomb twice.
Yeah.
And they had to fight to keep that PG-13 rating.
Yeah, like if they say, go F yourself, that's sexual connotation right there, and that immediately elevates it to something else. So you can't do it again, whereas this, he says, like, happy effing Halloween, which there's no connotation to that, so you're allowed.
So I guess initial thoughts, very positive.
Yes.
Very positive. So just a little quick background on this before we take our break and jump really into spoiler territory. So this movie originally was supposed to be a Ben Affleck movie. Like, he was supposed to star in and write it and direct it, which is a big undertaking for any actor. And, even though Ben Affleck has proven himself as a great writer.
Argo is fantastic.
And, say what you will about his portrayal of Batman. Like, there are people that love it, like me. There are people that are okay with it. There are people that hate it. Like, it's fine. But the character was already established. And we're going to see, this is the year of Batman. Like, we're going to see Keaton and Affleck again. So having said that, it was supposed to be in the DCEU. It was supposed to be Batman versus Slade. Like, that was like the original setup for it.
We're talking back like 2017 here.
Yeah. I feel so long ago.
So much has happened since.
Because Affleck was cast in 2013, and he was signed up for multiple roles, and just unfortunately, between the issues with the DC universe itself and Warner Brothers, and then Ben Affleck was dealing with his own personal stuff. Like, he was dealing with alcoholism, divorce. Like, it's too much. So first he stepped down as writer-director, and he was going to still star in it, and he was still going to do it. But when the Snyder Cut came out, and you see him at the end, like, he looks sullen. Like, he looks like he's lost a lot of weight. Like, he was going through some stuff. But so eventually they decided to Matt Reeves got brought on board, and Affleck was supposed to still be in it. Like, he was supposed to still do it. But then Reeves didn't like the script, and he wanted to redo it and do more of like his own. And he's like, I could direct a Batman movie, but I can't direct this script. It's not my style. It's not my substance. Like, it's a great script, but it's not for me. And
and he's very good at rebooting franchises. He did that with the Planet of the Apes franchise.
Yeah, I really like his work. I like Matt Reeves, and I think this was the best decision to make ultimately. So Matt Reeves comes out. Eventually, Affleck's like, I can't. I just physically, emotionally, psychologically just cannot. And now he's back with Jenny from the Block.
Yeah,
Good for him.
Wow.
Good for him. He turns this down and gets J-Lo instead.
I know, right?
I mean,
small victories.
All right. All right. Real quick. If you had a choice, would you rather be Batman or would you rather be with J-Lo?
Batman.
He didn't pause at all for that.
Not once. Ronnie did.
He's still thinking.
I'm still thinking.
That's a tough one.
I mean, I feel like I have to say Batman because, I'm getting married soon. But
Yeah.
she doesn't listen, so... I mean, J-Lo does have money, but she doesn't have billionaire money.
She just
Batman
seems
can
like
get any
fun, though.
Yeah, but Batman can get anyone. Like, I could be Batman, which means I'm Bruce Wayne, which means I could still get J-Lo.
I'm going to stick just
Loophole.
I'm going to stick just with J-Lo so I don't endanger my life.
I got a
fun.
bulletproof. You got a bulletproof. You're bulletproof,
Yeah.
except for from the nose to the chin.
Which nobody aims at.
Oh, clearly.
But all right, so with that, we are going to take our quick break, and when we come back, we are breaking down the whole movie, spoilers, things that we like, things that we maybe didn't like. I think I might be the only one with things that I didn't like.
No, I could probably find something.
Well, I guess you'll have to tune in after the break to find out. Today's episode is brought to you by Ray's Energy Drinks from Rep Sports. Whether you're trying to crush your afternoon workout or just need a little extra pick-me-up, Ray's Energy is just the boost that you're going to need. So if you go to repsports.com and any product that you order, enter the code MISFIT89 at checkout to receive 15% off. Anything that you guys buy from that store helps our network grow, and we fully appreciate everything you guys do. That's MISFIT89 at checkout, repsports.com. All right, and welcome back. And now this is your official spoiler warning. We are going to be breaking down The Batman in every detail that we could possibly remember after seeing it more than 12 hours ago, getting home from the theater almost. So, again, spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. Ronnie, tell me a spoiler. Go.
The Riddler's in it,
Oh, nailed it.
and the
Nailed
Joker.
it. And the Joker.
I feel like we watch different movies.
All right. So we're not going to go through the plot beat for beat, but we will talk about, let's start with,
He wants to do it.
he does want to go through the plot beat
What?
by beat.
Oh,
Give him the
well,
plot.
not point by point.
Like on Cinematic Adventures where we go through the entire movie. All right.
I can give a brief.
Tell us what
a
this,
brief-
Ron. Yeah, sure, Ronnie. Tell us what this movie's
brief
about.
tidbit about this movie. So basically, the movie is about Batman trying to catch the Riddler, who is portrayed as a serial killer. Basically, he's the Zodiac killer, if you remember from the 60s, I believe it was.
I remember him from the movie.
Well, that too. But yeah,
No, and it was-
the
I think
Zodiac
it was
killer
70s.
was it the 70s? But it's kind of like loosely kind of like taken from that, but that's pretty much it. He goes around killing political figures and, heads of, the police. He kills the DA in it, and it's basically just Batman trying to figure out who done did it.
Yeah, and
with
he's-
Lieutenant Gordon. They're a little buddy cop kind of movie, and then you have like the side story of Selena Kyle's friend.
Let's set the tone for this movie. Basically, the Batman has been operating in Gotham City
I
for...
thought we were harmonizing.
No. Has been setting... Now, see, you messed me up now. He's been operating in Gotham City for about 2 years.
Yep.
So I'd say this is a Bruce Wayne that's in his mid-20s. They don't really specify. They don't really say.
Yeah.
We don't learn anything really about Bruce Wayne. And Bruce Wayne is not in this movie very much.
Mm-hmm.
It is way more. This is the most Batman we've ever gotten in a Batman movie. Which,
Well, that's why it's called The Batman.
but you get a
It's
movie
about
like
the Batman.
Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, even like the original Keaton ones. Like it's a mixture of how often you see the actual actor, like the Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne portrayal and the Batman. Rob's giggling like a 4-year-old over
We'll
there.
find out in about 40 minutes.
I don't want to find out. I'm going home in 40 minutes. Yeah.
Carry on.
You are. I know I am. But anyway, so basically he's been operating, and he's still almost an urban myth at this point.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's a balance. Like nobody really refers to him as Batman in this. There are newspaper clippings that say who is the Batman and stuff like that. But even so, the opening scenes are fantastic. They set the tone for the movie. It's a nice juxtaposition between what Batman's doing, what the Riddler's doing, and kind of how they're about to collide.
Yeah.
And we get the intro, like Jim Gordon has a bat signal. It's not on police headquarters. It's in the Renewal Project construction
Building,
site, which
yeah.
is ironic.
Now, is the opening scene the death of the mayor?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm
Well,
remembering that
it's funny because
correctly.
Melanie thought they were showing the Waynes again. And I was like, no.
Yeah. No, we've done that.
They've already said that they do
They're
say
not,
Martha
yep.
a lot in this, and why would you say that name?
I did like the fact that with that opening scene, it sets the tone for the movie that this is going to be about the crimes, not so much about like the Batman or about Bruce Wayne or about even the villains. It's about crime.
Yeah.
Because this is a film that is all about solving crimes, which is great because we haven't seen that very much in a lot of Batman stuff.
Right. So, I mean, I love the opening scene where it shows once that bat signal goes on, and they've played around with this in some of the other movies. Like, I think in The Dark Knight, Jim Gordon says, like, I put it on. He doesn't always show up, but at least, like, it's nice, the criminals know that he's out there.
Yeah.
And it's a great scene where the people doing crime literally stop in their tracks and then they get scared. Like fear is really the theme of this movie, used in two different ways. For Batman, it's instilling fear in the heart of criminals. For the Riddler, it's controlling fear almost. And the opening scene of him just beating the tar out of those thugs. I do like how this Batman, he takes his licks in it. Like he's not like, the most. He's a very proficient fighter, but at the same time, like when he gets overwhelmed and there's like 40 people on him, he's got like getting hit.
You know what I was getting vibes a lot from this? Daredevil vibes.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the idea of, that he is trying to figure it out. He gets himself beat up a lot. He needs to take care of himself. And like just his fighting style. Like this is something I really appreciated in this. His fighting style was like just walk down a hall and brute force his way to the other end of the hall. Whereas, other Batmans have been all about their gadgets and shooting magical things at one another and everything. Whereas this is just his fists, which was really, really cool. And his mind too.
Yeah.
But I feel like his mind he only used when he was like doing the Riddler stuff in the Bat Cave. Like otherwise, he's not fighting the smartest. He's literally just tearing through people and relying on his bulletproof suit.
I did like that one part where he cut the lights completely out and and that was sort of a smart thing. It's a smart fighting style rather than just a gadgety fighting style,
which is fine. And then like he beats the tar out of and of course we also had our cameo from the same actor who plays Tim Drake. We learned about that months ago. Melanie hated Tim Drake on Titans, which is a shame because Tim Drake's is my favorite Robin for the most part. But
she just doesn't like that actor.
Didn't like the actor. He had a weird face.
I remember him now. Yes.
Okay.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So like they set the tone very early on, and I love when Batman's walking into this crime scene, because basically we find out that the Riddler is now leaving notes for... They never establish if this is the Riddler's first kill or if it is like he's been around and now it's just getting worse or bigger. But he's writing to Batman, leaving notes at these crime scenes. And I do love how Batman finds all of them, like the one with the bat in the cage. Like he's the one that thinks to look in the cage. He eventually figures out
the USB drive, the
USB drive, the carpet
thumb
puller.
drive, you mean?
Yeah, the thumb drive. Oh, God. But also, that was a testament to how smart the Riddler was.
Yeah.
Because basically, in that opening scene, the Riddler kills the dude with that carpet puller, throws it on the floor so it leaves a mark, and then picks it back up, knowing that Batman would be looking for something like that.
Yeah.
And then he's the one that's like, oh, this is what killed... But he didn't think to do anything with it at the time.
Yeah.
But the scene of him walking into that crime scene, because they established that he and Jim Gordon have a relationship. We don't know what it is. We don't know how it started. Because in Batman Begins, that was a big thing, like building that start. I'm fine with getting into year 2 and like...
I like that. We didn't have to spend origin time on it.
And because we know. A lot of people know the stories and know the lore of Batman in that regards. But all these cops are like, what the hell is he doing here? Like, it's a dynamic we haven't gotten.
Now, a lot of times Batman lives in the shadows and only shows up to steal something from a crime scene or to get a villain or something. Like here, working with the cops, and again, this is what I was saying earlier, that Gotham here and the Gotham PD are very much a character, as equal to Batman and the villains here. So, I loved seeing him working with the police finally.
But I also love seeing them. They
Not
were not Batman fans.
Yeah.
No.
Like for the majority, there was like one or two that were like, "That's Batman," like in a cool way. But then they do warm up to him obviously by the end.
I think
of
it
the
was
movie.
Rodriguez,
something like
that.
that.
I think that was his name. Yeah,
but
and he by the end he was like he had warmed up to Batman.
Yeah, because I think the closest we get is Batman Begins when like the cops are chasing him. There's a whole thing in the movie. That's the Batmobile sequence. And then in The Dark Knight Rises, because he's a fugitive at that point.
Right.
I really enjoyed all the stuff, his interactions with the people of the city too. Like the guy he saves is like, please don't hurt me. Like, dude, come on now. And
I just saved you.
Even
and
like
you
after
think I'm gonna hurt you?
After he saves the mayor, she still doesn't want to take his hand to like get pulled out of the flooding waters.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Robert Pattinson. He does a fantastic job in my opinion as Batman. I'm already over emo Bruce Wayne.
He might be my best and favorite Batman.
Roddy?
Really?
Yeah, I gotta say and here's why. So hear me out.
I was gonna say you gotta give some sort of explanation after that. Hold on.
Every time I've seen Batman, it's always, it's Ben Affleck as Batman, or it's Michael Keaton as Batman, or it's Val Kilmer as Batman. Here I felt like he was Batman. Like it wasn't like the fact that he was Robert Pattinson didn't detract from the character. Whereas when I'm watching Christian Bale, I feel like I'm watching Christian Bale doing Batman. Here it actually felt like, Robert Pattinson in his free time does Batman.
I also have a theory behind that.
Okay.
Because I can see what you're saying. I think it's because we get introduced to Batman in the Batsuit. We get very little Robert Pattinson's face in this movie.
Yeah, like in fact, so much so that I was thinking about the movie Dread.
I was just about to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay, with Carl Urban.
That was my next point.
I think Carl Urban, doesn't get enough credit for Dread because that was the first time you had a major star not take off the helmet, and then that kind of got perpetuated a little bit with like The Mandalorian with Pedro Pascal, where he takes it off very infrequently.
Yeah.
And I think Robert Pattinson kind of felt that way too, that he didn't need to take it off, and so like. Yeah, you might be right about that. That's a good point.
Yeah. This movie, I would say 85% of the time, he's in the Batsuit. Yeah. Or in some variation of the Batsuit. We get very little shots of him. And I really, again, it didn't sit well with me, his Bruce Wayne. It really, like, the more I think about it, like, I like having a multi-layered character. And like the Riddler points out, he's like, this is who you really are.
Yeah.
You are Batman.
Right.
You're not whoever. That's why I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I would have been really annoyed if he knew Batman was Bruce Wayne, especially in this universe where nobody knows who Bruce Wayne is. Like people are like, "Oh, that's Bruce Wayne." Like, "Oh my God, we haven't seen him in
Yeah.
But like, I always found something very powerful about the character of Bruce Wayne, who's also trying to help his city. He's the philanthropist. He's doing charity things. The Wayne Foundation.
Yeah.
They don't even mention Wayne Enterprises in this movie.
No.
There's not a single mention of it.
No, it's more Wayne as politician.
Yeah.
No, kind of, because
Just mention the accountants.
coming in. So you get it mentioned by proxy, but not, with the actual words. But I don't see. I gotta give this some more time to say Robert Pattinson is the best Batman we've had.
I need a sequel.
I was gonna say I need a.
Well, he's signed up for 3 films.
I do need to see a little bit more, and also, I mean, I know it's been 13 hours since the movie's been over for us.
Let me also say this about Robert Pattinson. He is very much a chameleon when he comes to his roles. And like just looking at stuff that he's done, and every time he does something, it's a different character. Like he was in Tenet, The Lighthouse, High Life, Good Time, even as Edward Cullen, in being a vampire. Like so many things he's done has made him he blends into his role so much that he doesn't draw attention to the fact that he's a celebrity.
So here's what might have made it better for me, just thinking about that. Had he put on this person, like basically he's like walking around his house all sullen and with his emo haircut, and just like he carries himself like not like Batman. Like when he puts on the Batsuit, he is like an imposing force. Yeah. He's big. He walks with. We were talking about
Timberlands.
We were talking about his boots, and it's like. I know it sounds funny, but when he wanted to walk dramatically, when he wanted to scare someone, you just heard the thumping of those boots. Like that opening shot, that's what those thugs stop because they hear him walking.
I gotta say, I never really thought about what does Batman wear for shoes before this movie.
Yeah, but
usually it's knee highs.
Yeah, just knee highs, heels. But for me, like if. Instead, when he went out into public and then he put on like that timid, almost like socially awkward persona, okay, I could buy that. But when he's walking around the mansion And he's just like, "Hi, Alfred. You're not even my real dad." I was like, "Is this Napoleon Dynamite?" Like,
But see, so this is my thought. Is we don't have his backstory, because all we know is his parents died, and he became a quote unquote billionaire orphan. But we don't know his actual backstory. Did he still go away and train with the League of Assassins?
well, that was just for Batman.
Well,
Begins.
I don't know,
Well,
because
but you know what I mean?
I don't think he did, because Alfred did make a throwaway reference about how I taught you how to fight.
Yeah.
There are a few throwaway references in this movie.
But what I'm saying though is like, all right, if this happens to you, you're gonna go through trauma, and this Bruce Wayne is almost like, I really don't care about the money.
He says it.
Yeah, so I can see him being a little emo and being, I'm okay with it, because I'm just trying to think, if take the money out of it, because again, he already says that's not his money, that's my family's money, it's not mine, I'm not a billionaire. If anyone else was in that situation, they would definitely be down in the dumps like he is. So I could see the emo. I didn't really like the dynamic with Bruce Wayne and Alfred.
I have to say, I think that the scenes between them are probably the weakest part of the movie, and that's not
at the beginning. Once the bomb goes off and Alfred gets hurt, then it gets a little bit better.
I have a problem with that bomb, by the way.
No, you don't.
All right, hold on though. I want to go back to this, because I do really feel that, and I don't know if it's because of the script, because I don't think it's the actor's fault.
No, I think Andy.
But
Serkis did
I
a great
think
job.
that their scenes aren't developed enough, because they really only share two major
handful.
scenes, like the one in the hospital and the one at the very beginning where he's like, "You're not my father," kind of thing.
And then because that's those two, and then you have where he solves the coding.
Yeah, like they don't have. Maybe that's why it doesn't work that well, because they just don't have enough scenes together. Whereas,
And also, there's an unnecessary tension between them the entire time. Even when they had, literally, dude just came out of a coma and almost died. You
And then
lied
you
to me, Alfred.
accused-
Dude,
I still like emo Bruce Wayne though, like with the black around his eyes and the greasy long hair.
That's great.
And the Nirvana music playing.
The black around the eyes, I love.
I do too.
I love that.
I like that he carries his suit around in a backpack half the time.
Yeah.
Like,
But what I'm curious about
the more practical Batman.
is with the eye black. Does he carry around
how does he
the eye black with him?
How does he apply it?
You see him in a bathroom before he puts on the suit.
All right, I
he's-
guess.
Yeah, he's like,
that's true. He's coloring his face.
Yeah. But like, what if he's outside of the Batcave and he's got to run home?
no, that's what
then
he
run
did.
back
He was
out.
he was in like a bathroom. It looked like.
Yeah.
And then he was gonna jump those guys because he knew they were gonna mug what's his face. But I don't like. For me, it also I don't, and we'll talk about this because basically the story turns out that the Waynes had created this renewal program, and when Thomas Wayne died, that money just became up for grabs. So there was a power vacuum for these millions of dollars that were supposed to be relocated to various funds, and that's why the orphanage closes down, and that's why Edward, not Nigma.
No,
Edward Washington or something like that. Yeah. I'm going to call him Edward Nigma.
The Riddler.
Yeah, the Riddler. Becomes the Riddler. Like, that's his catalyst. And then Batman coming in, he, like the Stalker syndrome. I don't like when there's a big conspiracy about, like, we saw it in the Amazing Spider-Man series. This conspiracy about the parents is just never something we're interested in.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I would much rather the idea that it was just a random act that killed the Waynes. And again, that's a plot point that they leave, that they don't do anything with at the end. Even like as far as closure with Batman and Alfred, it's there, I guess. Yeah. But again, like that, there are a lot of plot points that don't do anything. That is the biggest one. I don't really care if the Waynes were, like, don't get me wrong, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept that the Waynes were maybe involved with something that they weren't. And it does shatter the illusion for Bruce Wayne, but then they never have catharsis about it. It's never Bruce Wayne going, my father was a good man who made mistakes and I will rebuild this legacy. Like, they don't ever do that. Yeah. And then, like, it's just a weird thing that they address, but then it's a weakness of the script, in my personal opinion. They could have taken it out completely.
Okay.
And also my problem with the envelope bomb that Alfred gets.
Yeah, what was that? Your problem there?
Every other victim had some sort of ritualistic thing happen to them afterwards. right? The Riddler was there
Right,
for
you had
each
the-
one.
Yeah.
What's his name with the mice in his
The
thing?
mice,
Yeah.
the very first kill, he wraps him up, and like there's a show that's part of it. That would have just killed Bruce Wayne, and that was it. Like there was nothing more to it. So that was just plot convenience to put Alfred out of the game. Those are just some minor.
See,
gripes.
I don't. Yeah, I could see that point. I don't think though that the script was lazy or like I like the twists and all of the plot because then it was more of a focus on the story, whereas so many. This is a problem of so many superhero films where it's all about the villain. It's all about like what we have to stop the villain from doing some big thing, and here it's more about like there's layers and depth to the reasons behind the Riddler doing the things that he's doing, and it's about rooting out corruption and trying to
Oh, he's the hero.
yeah, he is, and he sees him and Batman as sort of being on the same side.
It's literally working together.
Yeah.
Like this guy's mind is so broken. It's like people that stalk celebrities and they think that they're in some sort of relationship with them.
Yeah.
Like it's an actual psychological condition. And when they finally have their interaction, I remember we're in the theater and when Paul Dano's Riddler is revealed and he's like losing his mind when he finds out that Batman's not his friend, like, and he's like screaming and yelling. People like laughed. I was like, that's a
disturbing.
I will say that the Riddler in this movie was the most disturbing super villain in a movie we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Some close seconds.
1000%.
Heath Ledger
Obviously,
is a
yeah.
close second. But the thing about Heath Ledger was he was so smart that, like he was a man without a plan. He never says he doesn't have a plan. He just says,
No.
do I look like a guy with a
Yeah.
plan? And
But
then
he's got 38 plans.
yeah, and then I would also argue Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as like just scary villains go, those are my top three.
I think what made Paul Dano so frightening was because it was so rooted in the real world. Whereas, yes, Heath Ledger's Joker is fantastic, but there is still a comic book element to him. Whereas this Riddler, he didn't have question marks all over his jacket, like Jim Carrey did. He was. You feel like he's someone who could exist, like a Zodiac killer. Yeah, and Paul Dano is just terrifying as this.
Yes.
And he is only unmasked for maybe like 5 minutes of the entire film.
Just for the last,
Yeah, the rest of the film he is in his Riddler mask and you can't see anything but his eyes, and they are.
And he explains that too. He says it to Batman. This is really you. This is really me.
Right,
Nobody knew me. Like I was invisible, but now like I found my purpose and I found who I am. And that's always a very long debate in comic book movies. And I know we've talked about it when we talk about Batman and Superman, like who's the real character there. So I thought it was fantastic. Now let's talk about some of our other characters though too, unless we have any other plot points on Batman and Riddler that we want to discuss. No? All right. Catwoman is in this.
yes, she is.
Selena Kyle played by Zoe Kravitz, and again another character that you learn a lot about and you feel for too.
Yeah.
Like you feel bad for her. Rob, initial thoughts on Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman?
I know very little about Zoe Kravitz unless she's been in things that. Oh, I did like the fact that she was also Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie.
She was. Yeah, she was.
Yeah, I don't know a lot
meow.
about her, other than, of course, that she's the daughter of Lenny Kravitz. I sort of remember her from Mad Max Fury Road. So I didn't have very many expectations going in about her. I liked the fact that she and so many of the other characters aren't clearly good and evil. There are so many like shades of gray with each of these characters that, Selena Kyle is someone who is, she's a compromised morality where she, she wants to kill, and Batman's trying to stop her from killing. She is someone who is a victim so often, and I enjoyed her tremendously because she didn't detract from the plot. She just added it. Like so many of these other characters, like even like Carmine Falcone, it didn't feel like he was a good or evil. He was like, he was mostly evil, but he had so many other shades of trying to do the right thing.
Well, I also liked, you mentioned the plot. Nothing in this movie, except for like some of the points that I pointed out, the plot is very complicated, but it's also well put together. All these points, a lot of these big points come to a head. Like I was actually kind of surprised that Carmine Falcone was the rat. You find out that he was the one that and he used all this like to So I thought that was smart. I thought it was well done, and the plot itself was really interesting. It kept you guessing to a certain. It's not the most complicated in the world. Like, we know Batman's going to save the day.
It's just lots of twists to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things about the plot, and we were talking about this before we started recording. Being a 3-hour movie and being individuals that, of course, eat and drink during a movie, the bathroom issue comes up. And I was like, I gotta go. I gotta leave. So I was trying to find the right time to leave. And there really is no right time in this movie to leave.
For a 3-hour movie, there is no filler in it at all.
No.
Like, every single time I'm like, okay, this looks like a scene where they're not going to tell me a lot. And then I was like, oh, God, I'm glad I was around for that.
Yeah.
Because there is so much exposition that's given throughout the entire movie in any given moment. In fact, when I left, I came back and I had to ask Timmy, my son, I'm like, what, well, why are they doing? Because I'm like, all right, maybe I'll just sit and I'll figure it out. And after 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm clearly missing something. I'm like, how does she get the recording of her friend, and where did that come from?
Oh, yeah, that's when you went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Why are they there?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden he was in the hospital, and then all of a sudden they're on a building with dangling one of the people over it. I'm like, how did we get here? What did I miss? And I was gone for literally 60 seconds.
Yeah. So, like, you look at a movie like Avengers Endgame. I can go to the bathroom when they're figuring out when to go back in time.
Yeah.
Like, which stone should we go for? I can go to the bathroom and come back.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to these places.
And then
cool.
Yep.
And you can catch up.
Yeah. Spider-Man, I can go to the bathroom when they're like, all right, we're going to solve all the villains' problems. Montage. No, like, this movie, there was constantly.
My advice, don't drink anything during the film.
All right.
Yeah, right.
But going back, Ronnie, thoughts on Selena Kyle in this movie?
I was going to say, we don't really have Catwoman in this movie. I feel like that
they don't even refer to her as such.
That too, but I mean, she's really just Selena Kyle in this movie.
You got a lot of cats.
Yeah.
One of the few jokes in the film.
Yeah, right.
I think.
There's not a lot of humor in this movie.
Well, it's because it's not Marvel.
That's fair.
Again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I think this cast is spot on. There's not one person I would change. I think everyone nailed their part. I mean, Selena Kyle, I think, is just basically just ripped. Like the way she acts and everything, like from the comics to this, I think is spot on. I think she fantastic job, and her story too. Like Rob was saying, like she's one of those, like, it's almost like the anti-hero kind of thing where it's like, she's a bad guy or bad girl, right? But she's also doing bad things, but for the good of human.
But she has a motive in this movie, like a motive that we understand, but then we find out that she actually has this other motive that's just as understandable. Mm-hmm. And some movies would have just picked one or the other, but then we get this twist where she steals that money and she's like, I'm owed this. That's the whole reason I was at this place, because, and then you find out the bombshell.
Yeah.
But, like, you could have just left it with the dead girlfriend and made that enough of a motive for her to want to kill Carmine Falcone, but you get more, and I like it.
Yep.
Other cast members that we haven't really talked about, we mentioned him briefly, but Jeffrey Wright is James Gordon.
Mm-hmm. Best James Gordon ever.
My new favorite Batman and Jim Gordon scene is the scene of them in the police precinct.
Yes.
And he comes up to him, he's like, you need to punch me.
Yeah, right.
I need to get you out of here. It is, you get a feeling that, I feel like in this universe, he saved Jim Gordon's life at some point.
Yeah.
That's the kind of vibe that I get from them. And we're also going to talk about it, but the Joker's already in Arkham. And he's the Joker. Like, you could see he's got the white skin and the crazy hair. I would assume that if we get another movie, I would not be surprised if we get the Joker being in it and we find out that was like Batman's first supervillain that him and Jim Gordon had to take down.
You know what? I'll save it.
Okay.
All right. I'll save it.
We'll do some speculation at the end.
I have to say, what I think might be the movie's best aspect is that Jim Gordon has an equal role to Batman.
1,000%.
Yeah, they are like a detective team, like Riggs and Murtaugh without the jokes, and he gets a lot of screen time,
way more than I thought.
Yeah, like I always liked Gary Oldman, and he was good, but Jeffrey Wright is given so much more. And, in last week's episode of our podcast, which you should check out, which is all about Jim Gordon and Alfred, Jim Gordon in this has a very active role in advancing the plot, and his relationship is studied in depth with Batman, and he gets almost equal screen time, and Jeffrey Wright nails it. I said last week that Jeffrey Wright is a reliable actor. He's someone that you always know what you're gonna get, and I got a lot from this film that I wasn't expecting from him. He was layered. He had great depth to him, and he was interesting too. Like he wasn't like I think that's a big thing from this movie is that all of the actors are generous towards one another in that they give each other material to work with, and Jeffrey Wright gives Pattinson a lot to work with.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Gordon?
Just echoing Rob, my favorite Gordon that and like you said, that the scene in the precinct where he literally like pins Batman up against the wall too. Like it shows like
what a tense scene that was.
Yeah, like they have like this mutual respect. Like they've been through some stuff together. Even though it's only year 2 but they have that relationship where they seem to have been working together for 2 years nonstop. Like, buddy, why are you giggling?
When that cop tried to just reach and grab his cowl and pull it, and he turns out he just decks him. I couldn't help but start laughing. Like it was just.
But my thing is, so how long was he knocked out for that you wait until he's about to wake up to take the cowl off?
I guess Jim was protecting him all that time.
I would think that Jim Gordon was.
Well, yeah,
they get him back
agree.
to the precinct.
Yeah.
He wakes up in police precinct.
Yeah.
And that is a tense scene.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of very tense scenes in this movie.
like the fact too that there's a number of times that Bruce Wayne gets his bell rung.
Oh yeah,
and is out of it for a little bit. That he just,
and you can actually see it too. Like when he takes off the suit, like you see all the damage that's been done. I feel like we haven't really gotten
Christian Bale,
like
a little bit,
cuts and stuff like that. But I feel like we haven't gotten any like bruises or
the first night he's Batman and Christian Bale. Like Alfred suggests taking up water polo to explain it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But or no, just regular polo, not water polo. Weirdo. But
yeah, water polo.
I know.
Gosh,
what's wrong with me?
That's a rich person.
I know, right?
I guess.
But for me, like, I really enjoyed there's certain things, and we haven't really talked about the Batsuit and his portrayal of like certain aspects of Batman. But like he has the adrenaline that he has a special almost like an IV port.
Gives him roid rage.
Yeah.
Well, somebody pointed out that the green might actually be Venom from Bane.
Yeah, I read that somewhere too. Yeah,
That's a fun theory.
I like
liquid kryptonite.
I like the functionality of his bat suit. Like it's very much like a tactical bat suit.
The Batarang as the chest plate.
I like the fact.
I liked it.
I liked it actually a lot more because if you remember, I don't forget if it was last episode or 2 episodes ago, I was complaining about Batarangs and their functionality and that they don't seem practical. And I think Pattinson's Bruce Wayne seems to agree with me on that because he never uses Batarangs.
He's very big with the grappling hook.
Yeah.
But which is cool.
Ouch! He shoots people with that.
Affleck did it too.
I know. Well, I can't say ow that hurts. I didn't say he's the only one that does it.
When they catch the guy that Selena Kyle kicks over, he uses the grappling hook.
Yeah.
I wanted that guy to be like, my elbow. Like you got me right there.
Like that must hurt. Like coming out too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I mean, you just cut the steel and just pull it out that way.
All right, things to think about. All right, so before I do want to mention my favorite scene in the whole movie. It's got to be right after he makes the escape from Gotham PD, where he's like, he gets up to the ledge. He's like, "Oh man!" Yeah. Like,
that's a far drop.
It's hilarious because, like, again, this is a Batman who's year 2. He's probably more like we don't see him like grappling from building to building or anything like that, like traditional Batman. But it's when he does the flying squirrel suit.
Yes,
and he tries
exactly
to let the parachute go.
Yeah.
And it catches the bridge, and he's like, "Oh no!" And
all right, I'm glad you bring that up because of all the things that. All right, I loved it when he got caught on the bridge and he slammed into it because all of us, even myself included in the theater, went, "Oh!" Like it looked painful. I thought the flying squirrel outfit was the goofiest crap I'd ever seen.
It was very strange.
And it was the angle that they were shooting it to where it was like, because I wonder if they actually shot something like that, like with him flying like in an air fan something, because his head was staying still, but everything else was moving. And it just reminded me of like a flying squirrel, like Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, I think Melanie actually said Rocky during the while we were watching it.
Hey, Rocky, let me put
but
this
in my mind, it was more, this is all stuff he's making himself.
Yeah.
Right. Like we get no indication that Lucius Fox is around. That Wayne, again, no mention of Wayne prizes, anything along those lines.
I like the squirrels.
I thought it was
stupid.
I liked it. I mean,
I think it was just.
He doesn't use the grappling guns, like you said, to go from building to building.
Right.
What other ways are you going to do it?
I think it was just the way it was shot was so goofy.
Yeah, it was a little off-putting.
I think it was goofy, but I loved it. We've never seen it before. I wouldn't mind seeing a better version of it.
Yeah.
In the sequel, but
so last character before we do some fun speculation and final thoughts. Oswald Cobblepot. We didn't even mention Colin Farrell as arguably one of my favorite Batman chase scenes too. It's really good. It's very that Batmobile. I was really apprehensive about it.
Me too.
It grew on me during the actual chase. But I really liked. We mentioned that this Gotham City feels a lot more like it's lived in. It's got its own character.
It's very film noir.
The Iceberg Lounge is almost another character in this movie, where it's got layers. Like literally, it has. Well, there's the club inside the club.
Inside the club. Club 44.
And I like Cobblepot. He's not the big mob boss that he normally.
No, he's Oz.
He's just Oz.
Yeah.
He doesn't like being called the Penguin. He does penguin walk.
He does waddle when they have him tied up.
Which was that whole scene was great.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah. But
that chase scene.
The chase scene was fantastic.
Wow. And the fact that we were in a movie theater that had like, was it rumble seats or something to it? But like the whole theater shook.
Yeah. When that accelerator hit, again, it's the same thing with him walking. Just really cool. And I dug Cobblepot in this.
I saw somewhere written that Edgar Wright commented on that chase scene and said how brilliantly it was shot. And if Edgar Wright is commenting on that,
Baby Driver.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. You did the right thing then.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Mr. Cobblepot? I'm looking forward to the show.
Like I said, like we knew that Colin Farrell was playing Cobblepot, but if you did not know that, you would not have known that was Colin Farrell. A lot of times, like, you had Danny DeVito, like, that looked like Danny DeVito. Mm-hmm. This does not look like Colin Farrell at all, which get big props to that makeup team.
I read somewhere too that Colin Farrell said that he went to Starbucks to try out his prosthetics and makeup, and nobody recognized him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He doesn't look like Colin Farrell at all, and I have to say it's. I was worried about the prosthetics because whenever anyone puts on that much makeup, it's like, oh, you could tell. You couldn't tell. No. He was gross looking. He had that horrible scar on his face.
It was great.
And he just it was lived in. Like I read too that he shot it. He had inspiration from The Godfather, and also that it was something about. Oh, here it is. That he had a recording of a New York City building caretaker from the 80s, and that inspired him for his voice of the Penguin.
Okay. Whatever you want, Colin Farrell.
Easy. What did he say? Easy, sweetheart.
Yeah. I like stuff like that. Like, like he has Batman actually come into his lounge and like that, and that's more in line with the comics nowadays. So, like the Penguin, he used to be the kind of guy, but now he's more of a.
I love the fact too that like in so many of the previous. Any superhero movies, when the good guy gets into the room with the bad guy, it's all about beating up each other and like capturing them. And here it's like getting information to solve things.
Batman almost does things like by the books, like as like an officer would. Like
he's wearing gloves.
Like he doesn't go in like you said and just I'm gonna beat you up because I know you're a bad guy. He goes, it's almost like I got nothing on you. I'm just here to talk to you, kind of like, like I said, a police officer would do.
Well, I do like, we need a warrant. No, I don't. He just walks in. I like how they mirror that scene with the twins the second time when he goes as Bruce Wayne. It's almost like the exact same scene, but it was funny. I like those too. They were on Teen Wolf for a long time, but I like Teen Wolf. I like that show. So those are all the big characters. We didn't really mention Carmine Falcone. He's in it. He's a plot point, and then he gets unceremoniously murdered in front of all of them. But I really enjoyed the entire cast. Like the whole thing was really good.
I love again that no one shines more than anyone else. They're all important parts of this film. Like it reminded me of the movie Heat with De Niro and Pacino, where it's that kind of mob movie where it's people outsmarting each other and this cops and robbers kind of thing. It's a mob movie. This is a mob movie.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, like Batman doesn't really win in this movie. Like the city still gets flooded.
Which I want to say, last week I had mentioned I would love a dour ending to this, and I kind of got a little bit of a dour ending. It has a hopeful,
optimistic ending, but it is still it's pretty pretty depressing.
That Selena Kyle says to him, that this city's gonna kill you, and there's no point in this, and he's like, I have to try.
Well, he points out, he's like, things are only getting worse. Like it's a constant battle for Batman in this, where he's like, I don't know if I'm actually doing anything that's helping. They do point out that the Riddler is made from him, like he was inspired by Batman, but like in all honesty, I want to see more. I want to see some hope and optimism in the next movie. I want to see I know we're not at speculation points anymore, but so really quick, before we jump into speculation about what we want to see in a sequel, before I, jump ahead, any final thoughts on this movie? Gripes? We can do Gotham City ratings. I know Rob says he has a few.
Oh, yeah. Well, my main gripe was that goofy squirrel suit.
Oh, that was your main gripe?
That was my main one.
There is one other gripe that I have not.
I have one too that I didn't point out, but go ahead.
You want to go? Oh, so there's a scene again. I talk about plot points that were dangled, but nothing was ever done with. There's a scene in the church during the funeral scene where he's standing next to just some random guy who's like going off about how the rich deserve what's coming to them, and Bruce Wayne looks at him, and this guy looks at him, and he's like, "Hey, don't I know you?" I don't know if that was for me. I didn't even think like, oh, he's Bruce Wayne. He's famous, because nobody really knows who Bruce Wayne is. It seems like
he's such a recluse.
I thought that was Joe Chill, the guy who killed his parents.
Right.
And I was like, they never really like some of those things don't really explain. They don't put them in the script.
Was he one of the guys that
he was?
Right.
Go ahead.
He was one of the Riddler guys
yes,
at the end, right?
At the end, where they pulled his mask off.
Yeah, he was the one that was about to shoot Batman right in the face.
Yeah,
I would have actually really liked if that was Joe Chill, because I do like the idea of it was a random thing that happened to the Waynes. It was a product of the city.
Well, I like the fact that they never officially say, like, he's like, was it Falcone? I don't know.
Was it a coincidence?
It could have been. Like, I like that because that's what life is. Life is not easy answers. Life is like, it could be.
But then it would also explain why this Bruce Wayne's still so broken, because at least say what you will about some of the other interpretations, like, he's caught the person that like in Batman Begins, I was very surprised at the very beginning. They're like, we got him. Like, we got the guy who killed your parents, Joe Chill.
Right.
Like, it's indifferent. Like, sometimes Batman doesn't know who killed his parents. Other times he does. Other times they retcon it so that's actually the Joker when he's young. So for me, like, I like the idea of just it was a random thing, just a bad day, and a product of the city itself. But anyway, another minor gripe. But do you guys want to do Gotham City rating and then do some speculation?
Let's do it.
All right, Ronnie, would you like to go first?
I'll go first.
Heck yeah, you will.
I give this movie a 4.5.
Solid. Wow.
Yes. Again, just from all of us speaking, like, there's not so much to change about this movie. Nothing bad about this movie would have changed the outcome if it wasn't bad. Again, the way the movie is shot is fantastic. The script is fantastic. The acting is great. Like we alluded to, no one outshines anyone else like you had in The Dark Knight. That was Heath Ledger's movie. Christian Bale was like backseat. Everyone else was too. And the fact that Riddler actually scares you instead of just being like this crazy maniacal person, he's actually scary in this. It was almost like a horror film. We were watching a horror film Saw. Mixed with, like a police crime drama. It was great, and I cannot wait for a sequel.
Rob?
I am at this, I have to say it with this phrasing. At this point,
3.
I'm going to give it 4. I can see it going up to 4.5, though. I really enjoyed it. There's a couple gripes I still have about it. There were a couple moments that didn't ring true for me that I felt were too random. Like, I have to say, and this is spoiling a little bit for the climax with the flooding. The blowing up of the van seemed a little random to me. It didn't seem like there was nothing that hinted at that beforehand. Like, I would have liked to have you know, like, I don't know.
I think they mentioned the seawall once in the very beginning.
Yeah, like I would have loved to have seen, like, maybe there was a newspaper headline that said something like, you know, white vans are disappearing off the streets or something.
Or something about the seawall in that, like, the revamping project, whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
you know, money
Yeah.
was supposed to go to the seawall.
Some
but
foreshadowing to
I'm
that.
sure, like, there's some like Easter
something we
eggs,
missed.
you know, because there was the 7,000 different news clippings
Yeah.
in his apartment.
That, and there was that one scene where Bruce was doing like a visual on the floor of all the different clues.
Yeah.
That seemed to like come to nothing for me. Like it just seemed like a reason for
Really cool visual.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was it for me.
Kind of like the Joker laying in the ring of knives.
That was the exact thought I had when I was seeing that scene. That it served no other purpose. But I will say that this is actually a movie, and take this with a grain of salt. The Snyder Cut. I admired it, but I never want to experience it again. Whereas this, I would watch this again. Like, I really felt like, you know what, I would love to, like, even like to the point where I would go back to the theater to see this again, because it was such an enjoyable time. Like, I really felt riveted the entire time. I was soaking in all the visuals, the performances. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I highly recommend this. And so right now I'm saying 4, but I could see myself going up. Paul?
I'm right there with you. I'm giving it a 4 also, with the strong possibility it's going to jump up after a second viewing, especially knowing how it ends, just kind of watching it from that perspective. I thoroughly enjoyed Robert Pattinson. I do have my gripes about his portrayal of Bruce Wayne, but they're minor because he's not really in the movie. Like, that is a helpful thing. I want to see where this universe grows. I want to see what happens next. I'm curious. You know, this was it's an interesting Batman experience because it is a very different Batman than what we've gotten.
Yeah.
Usually we get Batman where he is like peak Batman. We've had very, like, even like Batman Begins, he only, like, it's only when he's like just as in like the ninja attire and he tries to jump off the roof and he hurts his knee
That
Yeah.
fails.
That's
Yeah.
like that's it. Otherwise, like, he's very successful as Batman and very like just efficient as Batman. This is a Batman who, it's 2 years. He's been doing this. It's an interesting and unique take, and I want to see him grow, and I want to see him become a better Batman throughout all this. But let's do a little bit of speculation, because Fan Feedback Friday does involve some characters we'd like to see in the next one. So we can do Fan Feedback Friday first if you guys want.
I do want to, speaking of speculation, I do want to bring up one complaint. I don't know if rushing into the Joker is a good idea.
I'd wait one more movie.
I'm hoping that he's not in the sequel. Like, in the third one, maybe. But, like, all right, first of all, when the Joker started talking to Riddler, I thought it was Jared Leto, and I was like, oh, no. And it turned out it was not. It's
I would have been okay with it.
No.
Yeah.
Like, I tried to make myself okay with it because I was listening to it. I'm like, all right, if this is Jared Leto,
redone him.
yeah, I was like, if this
In
is
a better
Jared
way.
Leto, maybe he's in the hands of a better director
Yeah.
and he'll do better. But I was like,
Because
ultimately,
it would have gone with the theme of the mobster gangster type.
Yeah.
Of having Jared Leto's Joker be the mobster type, like we saw.
Now, you had mentioned earlier about him working with the Justice League, and you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
This Batman?
Yeah.
I could see it. I could see a new version of the Justice League because, again,
Injustice.
a whole mess.
I feel like, and this is a testament to the film, that they did such a good job of creating this world. Like, this world was so unique, you know, in terms of just it's the rain and the darkness and the pacing and the lack of sunshine. And I feel like, you know, Superman's Kansas just seems like a different planet than this.
Which I would be fine with because, again, my biggest issue with Batman vs. Superman is that they just bring both characters into the dark as opposed to here's the dark, here's the light, and let them contrast. I think the thing that's, if they had done just a scene at the very end, because basically, here's the thing. Everybody always complains, why doesn't this superhero just come help? Like, you know, especially after during Avengers, like, where are the rest of the...
Yeah.
I think when they do
Where's
something...
Captain Marvel?
Yeah. We have to script writer out. For me, like, you do this event where it happens instantly. Like, suddenly just this whole thing. Had there been a shot of, like, you know, like, they do the news footage and they do the news reels and they show Batman, like, they could have had something like, heroes from around the world coming to offer aid, and you do your cameos. Like, they could have done something like that, and it would have still felt like it wouldn't have deterred from the great Batman movie, and it would have been a really fun Easter egg for other people. I really want to see, if you want to do other superheroes, I would love to see Green Arrow. Yes. I think
he would fit in this.
He would fit perfectly in this world.
I just can't imagine someone like Aquaman being in a scene with Batman. It just doesn't seem to.
I think with the right scripts, it could definitely happen. But as far as speculation goes, do you want to do fan feedback Friday first, or do you want to speculate about the next movie?
Let's do the fan feedback Friday, because I have a speculation that doesn't involve any answers.
Now, really quick, I just want to make sure that these are not made up.
Least.
These are real.
Okay, just making sure.
At least I'm hoping no one said what I want.
All right, so the fan feedback Friday is who's a villain or character that you want to see in a sequel to Batman? Sweet Tooth, an overweight man whose attack revolves around throwing candy at his enemies.
These are all real.
Yeah. Mr. Freeze, 10-eyed man. He has little eyeballs on the end of his fingertips. Penny Plunderer. This guy steals pennies. This one's not loading, if Ronnie would like to say what it is.
You think I remember? You think I remember? Keep going.
Okay.
Oh, I got it here. It's. Oh no, wait, never mind.
Yeah, good job.
He doesn't have it there.
Oh, here it is. No, it's not loading.
Nightwing.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't loading for me.
Talk about that in a second. I said character.
Character, right, yes.
Character or supervillain. Okay. Mr. Freeze, which is the big speculation. We have Two-Face, Jason Todd, the Penguin, in his full penguin attire. Poison Ivy. Crazy Quilts. I do know Crazy Quilts. Condiment King. We all want Condiment King. Kite Man, who was referenced in Peacemaker as one of Peacemaker's
Yes, he was.
So those, I think that's all of it? Yep, that's all of it.
So I have one more, and it goes with my speculation.
Okay.
All right. So, you know the Ben Affleck script that Reeves did not like?
Right.
We're going to get that.
You think?
Where we have Deathstroke and the breakout of Arkham. We're going to get all the people in Arkham on the loose, which will then set up movie 3, which will involve the Joker. So we won't get Joker in 2. We'll know he's out of Arkham, but Deathstroke's the one that releases everyone. He sets up this whole plot to get everyone out of Arkham and just create chaos throughout Gotham.
All right,
and
so
for Batman.
That's Ronnie's speculation. An Arkham style with Deathstroke. All right.
And Ben Affleck's going to be pissed.
It's his choice. It's his choice.
Yes,
well, no, it wasn't his choice.
He'll get the royalties.
He wanted to do that, and Reeves said no.
Well, no, it was his choice to step down as director and writer.
Well, true.
Yeah.
But still.
How did I'll ask this question because I have answers too. How did, being that we saw this with producer Mel and other people, how did producer Mel feel about the film?
Oh, she loved it. She thought it was really good. She thoroughly enjoyed it, which, you know, she's also more of a Marvel type person, so she really dug this movie though. What about?
First of all, she made the comment to you guys that if they could everyone talked a little faster, it would have been a 2-hour movie. But she actually said that she liked Pattinson because it blended, and she didn't want to murder anybody after the end of this film, which is a rave review from her. That she didn't hate it. That was her review. And Timmy had fun. Timmy really enjoyed it, and I could tell he was into following the plot and everything. So, yeah,
nice.
Any speculation you want for the next movie, which was the question that I asked?
I just don't jump into Joker. Mm-hmm. Joker just seems like the safe choice, and I like the fact that, you know, if I had known, like when I first heard that it was Riddler, I was like, oh, I don't know about this, you know, because all I can think of is Jim Carrey, and even what's his name from the 1966, and it's goofy. So I want a different, real world grounded take on a villain that we might not have thought about before. You know, someone that has been goofy in the past, and now they're doing it more grounded, you know, like with what Paul Dano did with the Riddler. So that's why I'm worried about the Joker, because I feel like there's only a couple ways to go with the Joker, and we've seen them all already. But as long as and again, I love the film noir approach. I know not everybody does. Lauren hates film noir, but I like that, you know, detective-y kind of deep Gotham, you know, crime riddled, it's always raining kind of atmosphere, and I hope we just keep going with that.
Okay. Next movie, I would like them to introduce Dick Grayson. I think we get glimpses of him with the mayor's kid.
Yeah.
They have a lot of.
Wait, is that the mayor's kid, or is that? Oh,
yeah, that was the mayor's
dead
kid.
mayor's kid.
The dead mayor's kid. there, and that's the scene that Alfred's like, because Alfred and Bruce are actively like fighting. You know, the whole you're not my dad scene.
Yeah.
Then he's watching we didn't even talk about the contact lenses. I thought that was a great touch.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, but he sees that Batman catches eyes with the kid who now just lost his father and found the body. Like, and he relates to it, and that's why he's a little extra emo-y that day. I would love to see Dick Grayson be introduced to be, and that could be your way to get Bruce Wayne out of like this emo, because you can only be like that for
for so many movies.
Especially like if you're 21, 20, we can all say that we're very different than we were when we were in our mid 20s.
Yeah.
Like, and so I would think having him like, all right, well, I'm trying to build this other persona, like. Let's go to the circus, the charity circus. Like I could see him like a charity circus for rebuilding the city, something like that. I could see it. Beginning of the movie started with that, and started with Robin and Dick Grayson, and I think a great movie would be him trying to train Dick Grayson, and then it leads you to a third movie with the Joker, where now he's got a new Robin. You can make Dick Grayson Nightwing. Like you could start the movie off with it, like he's become Nightwing at this point, and have the Joker introduced in that third movie and do Death in the Family.
I was just going to say, what if we did Death in the Family?
You want to do something different with the Joker that we haven't seen yet?
Have him murder a Robin.
And you could have your escape from your Arkham Asylum type story there.
Yeah.
You could do it that way and then have the Joker kill.
That would be good.
That's it.
The brand new
We're
Robin.
writing it.
Matt Reeves, call us.
Like, because that means you could put any villain in the second movie and still do a good, and have this new Robin, this new character step up.
I didn't see the other two Planet of the Apes movies that Matt Reeves did. I've heard they're fantastic.
They are.
I'm just not a Planet of the Apes fan.
They're very good.
So I have a lot of faith in Matt Reeves that he can develop and land a trilogy. So I have to say, it's one of the few times, with people like James Gunn and Matt Reeves in the DC universe, I feel hopeful.
I want to see what Flashpoint does.
Yeah.
If Flashpoint does consolidate these universes into one coherent storyline.
I mean, this is Earth 2.
I would be fine if they just. I would be fine if they.
Who said that?
Who said that?
Warner Brothers?
What?
Warner Brothers said this is Earth 2.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I have no.
Earth 2 is the Stargirl universe. No, they designated it at the end of Infinite Crisis.
I'm laughing at your geek knowledge.
No, at the end of
I'm telling you, Warner Brothers says there's a multiverse. And this is a separate world known as Earth 2.
So that means this is in the Stargirl universe.
I just wish that we didn't have to consolidate. Let Batman be Batman in the Batman film noir universe. He doesn't have to come in. Aquaman can have his little corner. Like, I don't know why we need to go that way.
Because Marvel made all the money.
No. Damn it.
And that's the issue. And we can't even blame Warner Brothers at this point, because there was a point where shared universes didn't make money. No. Like, nobody cared. Yeah, no. Comic books were the only ones that did these crossovers. Like, even like RoboCop versus Terminator, they had a comic book. Yeah. Alien versus Predator, they did all these things.
Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah. Like, these crossovers were never big money until the Avengers hit. Yeah. And then we saw it. Every studio tried to do it.
Hate that so many of these decisions are money driven.
They're all money driven, because that's what makes them. Money creates the product.
Money makes the world go around.
But I think that pretty much wraps us up. Any other points that we want to address besides the fact that I'm hungry?
I'm starving.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up. We're going to be back next week. Next week, we're going to do a full episode on Peacemaker. Rob and I have finished it. Ronnie is on episode 2, or he finished episode 2.
I finished episode 2.
Yep, so he's going to be the freshest perspective when we come back.
And we'll be staying in the DC universe then, I guess, next week, too, which is kind of neat.
Good.
I mean, there's nothing good about Marvel.
If
Morbius,
this is the
Morbius is going to kill it.
If this is the DC universe, I'm happy to spend time in it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up for today. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Ronnie.
And I'm Rob.
And we'll be back in a flash.
S'more.